aircraft somewhere.
There is, isn't there? Yeah. There's about 8 of them, isn't there?
I tell you what, it took some laying on for me to arrange that. Yeah, that was a couple of points in the office.
Get standard up there.
Let's go over this way.
What's happening now? The RAF are flying them around just to make them feel really sick before they jump out.
Is there anybody that is willing to capture what we're about to do on a phone for one of the girls?
If somebody's not free hand and takes that phone, then you do it as well.
Can I stand in front of you?
Yeah, sure.
You're taller than me.
Right, just gather around where you can hear me, and I'll explain to you in very brief why we're here. Chaplain's down here. If you don't know these two ladies, these are the daughters of Jack Baker. Jack Baker probably means nothing to many of you, but he was in Wolverhampton branch, and unfortunately he died not too long ago, and he should have been here, but Jack was in one para. I'm going to hand over to George shortly. He'll tell you much more about Jack. But although we practiced being in the Royal Air Force before we got here, if you glance to the back of you, this is DZ and LZX. Both paratroopers and gliders came in on this DZ. It starts from down near where you saw the cafe, where the tree line is, over to the tree line there, up to the tree line here. Now, why have we chose this place basically is quite simple. Because somewhere Jack Baker and all his mates landed over there somewhere. But why we are here, this area, this woodland, is where one para RV'd. So Jack was definitely in here somewhere with all his mates. They stayed in here for 2 hours waiting for their instructions to move off. That did them no good whatsoever, because by that time the Germans had realised something's going on. It was an unopposed landing. There was very few casualties, if any, apart from a few minor strains and breaks and this, that and the other. From here, they advanced down that road and got their way through there, and they advanced further on. And they got down, basically, to the St Elizabeth Hospital, where 16 parachute field ambulance had taken over. And as they started to dig into the grounds of the St Elizabeth Hospital, an irate airborne medical officer came out and told them to F off, because they were being mortared, thank you very much, one para. So they got out the way and they advanced further down. They managed to get down to the most prominent place, which I'll show you on the way back, down into Arnhem, and that's where they really suffered. From there they fell back to Oosterbeek Crossroads, and they fought at Oosterbeek Crossroads, joining the remnants of everybody else, and from there they went and joined in with Lonsdale Force, which was now a mishmash of everybody. Somewhere between the Oosterbeek Crossroads and somewhere around that area is where Jack was captured. We'll never know where, but this is the area he landed in, and he was definitely in there somewhere with all his mates. That's as much as I'm going to say, but I'll just explain what's going to happen. We'll get the standards where the standards should be. Last course will be played, the standards will be lowered. At that stage of the game there'll be 2 minutes silence. Jack's daughters will scatter his ashes where they want to scatter them. We'll still be in the 2 minute silence. Reveille will be played, the standard will come up, and it's all over with. And between those 2 minute silence, we can think of Jack, we can think of who we want to think, but this is where it basically happened on the first day. I'll now hand over to George.
Right. First of all say it's an honour to have been asked to do this where we are now at this time. I've known Jack for some years and I've known the daughters for some years, but from me personally to you two, all I can say is thank you very much for letting me to this. Right, John Baker, known as Jack, joined the Welsh Fusiliers in 1940, aged 17 years, having claimed he was 18. One of the first ones. I was young compared to most, a boy among men, he said at his interview. 2 years later, he's put his name forward when he heard that volunteers were being sought for the new airborne forces. He joined the newly formed 1st Airborne Division in 1942, tempted by the opportunity of doubling his pay from 2 shillings a day to 4. And of course, the red beret that would attract the girls. Consequently, there's 2 of them. The result. He saw active service in North Africa campaign, followed by Sicily and Italy. What I'm about to read now are the actual words that we asked Jack to write down for us about his initial thoughts of what happened when they left the UK to come to here, right here now where we are. 75 years ago I was stationed at Bourne, which is between Spalding and Grantham in Lincolnshire. 1 para were at Bourne, 2 para at Grantham and 3 para at Spalding. 1st Brigade HQ were at Grimsthorpe Castle outside of Bourne. That's for those that know where about Bourne. We were briefed, then given 36 hours leave before taking part in Operation Market Garden. Leading up to this op, our camp was behind barbed wire. Between D-Day and Arnhem, 15 ops had been planned and cancelled. We would get on a plane, then get off a plane. On the plane, off the plane. It got to a stage where we were actually running a bookie's book on whether we were going to go or not. Typical on it, off it, on it, off it. We've all been through it, they still do it. On Sunday the 17th of September, we set off from Folkeingham Airfield outside Bourne between 9 and 10 a.m. It was a beautiful sunny Sunday morning. Perfect. The atmosphere felt more like an exercise than a battle. It was just a day for a flight. It took us about 2 hours to get to Arnhem, where we had to take evasive action from ack fire. We jumped onto Ginkle Heath, which I'm assuming they all thought Ginkle Heath. This is where we are now, approximately 8 miles from Arnhem. Bilko, who some of you do know, a very dear friend of mine, said I did 2 jumps that day at Arnhem. The first one I landed in the trees, The second one was from the trees to the ground. The company RV'd on the Blue Smoke, where we are now. However, I had to catch up with them, as he's put it, having done 2 descents, one more than anybody else. I remember looking up and was amazed at the number of parachutes in the sky. After regrouping, our objective was to assist 2 para at the bridge. 1 para were on the top road, 3 para were on the river road. We marched to Oosterbeek, then on towards Arnhem in the morning. On the way, our company got entangled. Now this is the word that does me. Our company got entangled with the opposition. Not the Germans, not the opposition. That's the word Jack uses. We didn't come under fire until the outskirts of Arnhem. Good progress was made on day 1 getting towards Arnhem. However, that changed on Monday morning when we sustained casualties as a result of heavy fire from the opposition. On Monday and Tuesday, we sustained real heavy stuff from the opposition. I was taken prisoner on Wednesday morning at approximately 0800 hours. There were 13 of us in a building. We had become disorganised and communications were not very good. I was taken to a camp outside Arnhem, then by rail inland to Stalag 12A near Lindbergh. I spent my 21st birthday there. We were selected for fitness and moved to Stalag 11B, which was mainly airborne troops. This camp was near Brunswick. Belsen was approximately 8 miles from our working camp. We were put to work on the railway lines and repairing electric cables. Whilst at this camp, we weren't fed very well. As a thought, Arnhem was a very nasty battle. North Africa, equally as bad, but in a different way. This is a true account of Jack Baker, 1 para, Operation Market Garden. On a personal note, this is what I say. On a personal note, I first met Jack in the late 60s in a pub called The Plough. It happened to be a pub, didn't it? In a pub called The Plough, just outside of Wolverhampton, while on leave with my mates. He was one of the founder members of the Wolverhampton PRA in 1966. Whilst in Arnhem, he met the then National Secretary of the PRA, who suggested they started a branch in Wolverhampton. The National Secretary had a friend, Major Wharton, who worked for Charles Clark. That's a big garage in Wolverhampton. Each week the company put an advert on the front page of the local paper advertising their cars. He worked for Charles Clark, they sold cars. An advert was placed in the paper inviting all ex-members of airborne forces to a meeting in the Molyneux Hotel in Wolverhampton, for those of you who know that Wolverhampton. Over 300 people turned up for that first meeting. Some, of course, were not eligible to join. They met there monthly for a while, but the beer was so expensive they moved to another venue. Jack was also a big influence in the formation of other branches in the West Midlands area, which he did. He continued to play an active part in the Wolverhampton branch until his death on the 1st of April 2019, aged 95 years. This was really Jack was a true gentleman. He was. I think everyone that met him would agree with me on that one. A friend to everyone who he met, but he wasn't short in telling you if you were wrong very quickly. His opinions were respected by all, and they were. It didn't matter what rank they were. Believe me, they listened to Jack. He will be missed by all who knew him. It's like I said at the beginning, I am honoured to be able to do this for Jack. Jack was a dear friend of mine and of some of the people here that knew Jack. Jack was an absolutely brilliant guy, and he produced a brilliant family, as we've seen two of the girls here today, what they're doing. They thought this is right to do it here, and I think it's a case of bringing him back home in a way, and we're going to do it properly for him. I hope we will anyway. So I'll say thank you very much for listening, but that is a true account what Jack actually himself said to ourselves, and we wrote it down word for word. But I always go back to that one word: opposition. Not Germans, not Jerry's, not crowds, not nothing. The opposition. Incredible guy, incredible guy. So I say thank you very much.
Cheers, George.
Thank you very much.